We have an incredible group of people who are going to be presenting and chatting with you today. I have to tell you, I asked for bios for the speakers, and I've never had a harder time cutting down a group of bios. This is such an illustrious group of people. So first on our list is Chief Vera Bumpers. She is Houston Metro's Chief of Police. She's been with the department for more than 35 years, and she has been a pioneer from the beginning. She is the first woman to lead MPD and is the first woman to have been promoted through every single rank in the department. She's been widely recognized both locally and nationally for her leadership. She's past president of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, or NOBLE. She's been featured in the African American newspaper and Houston Women's Magazine, and was honored as a 2016 Top 50 Black Professional and Entrepreneur and Top 30 Houston Influential Woman. She's the recipient of the 2015 Trailblazer Award from the Women in Transportation Seminar, and most recently, something that we're thrilled to see, through our partner Nolly, she was granted the 2022 Women Law Enforcement Executive of the Year. I will tell you on a personal note, Chief Bumpers has been with us from the very beginning of our efforts to do this work. In 2018, she was one of our featured speakers in the summit, and ever since then has been so generous with her time. I can tell you that every time we have a sticky situation, one of the first things we do is Yvonne calls Chief Bumpers. So thank you for continuing to be so generous and sharing your wisdom with us today. One of the things we asked Chief Bumpers to address is how she's garnered such buy-in to do these advocacy efforts. We've heard from a couple of women in positions of leadership that it's actually a little bit complicated and fraught to be advocating for women as a woman in a position of leadership. And that is a sort of nuanced space that Chief Bumpers has expertly navigated. So she's here today to share with you how she's done it. Chief Bumpers, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maureen. And hello to everyone that is on the line. I believe in this work, and I so appreciate what Maureen and the team has done. Yvonne definitely is someone who just pulls you in and you can't help but be excited. So I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it.
Sure.
And talking about the 30 by 30, I've called this a promise. I know it's an initiative, but this is my personal, I guess my personal word for it is a promise, because a promise is something that's a declaration assuring that something will happen. It's a vow. So I've looked at it as a promise, and something that personally for me, that I would definitely want to see happen. And I think that my commitment to see it happen goes beyond being in this profession. I think it's something that anyone should aspire to see happen in our profession, whether you are currently in law enforcement, retired, are committed to sharing with law enforcement personnel as a trainer, or you just a citizen. You should want to see an increase of women in law enforcement by 30% by 2030. So that's definitely something that I want to see happen. But I know to see it happen, see this promise come to pass, it will take our collective voices. It's no way that just women can aspire for this. It's no way that just women can push for this initiative or this promise. It has to be buy-in for men, as well as even the community. I think it's something that our communities can get behind. It's an initiative, but again, I refer to it as a promise that I believe will become a reality. Now, for me, I see it in breaking it up in 3 parts. In order to achieve this, we have to educate, inspire, and motivate. And that has been my commitment in doing this. Talking about educate, share the why. A lot of times people don't really get behind something because they don't know the why. And for us to just go around saying, you know, I'm all with 30 by 30, or our department is with 30 by 30, our chief supports 30 by 30, our women support it, but the men are saying, well, what is that about? Why are you supporting? Why are we doing this? So it has to be a department-wide buy-in. And I think that starts with us explaining. Even today, I did invite some of our male supervisors to be a part of this webinar. I hope they're on, because I think it takes everybody's voice to push this forward, creating a space of understanding and buy-in. Of course, we do see some of the positive influences of women in law enforcement, where victims are more willing to speak to women when there's a violent situation. Non-fatal domestic abuse rates are reduced. There's a trust there. So there are a lot of positives for women being in law enforcement, and it's only a positive for the agency as well as the community. But we have to be able to explain that where everyone understands it. Women police officers can do. There are many times when I know that just regular citizens, most of your male counterparts know what you can do. They've seen you perform on the streets, but sometimes citizens will, well, what can you do? You're a woman. Women police officers can do physical fitness. Women police officers can do community service. Women police officers can lead and support. And that's our very own Yvonne Roman there, who is a leader, and she definitely is a supporter of women in law enforcement. And then work in specialized units. That's one of our female K9 officers we have too. So many times women, they feel like women should just be behind a desk doing paperwork, but there are so many more things we can do, but we have to show that, we have to share that, and we have to explain that. Metro Police Department, this is a breakdown of our all sworn officers, female 17%, male 69%, and vacancies 14%. And then in our supervisor ranks, our females make up 30% and male 70%. I believe that you should know the statistics for your department. So that can be a part of your why and a part of your sharing. And if you don't know the makeup, you don't know what your goal is. So we're trying to reach 30%. Every woman here knows what our goal is now, what we have to make up, and then we have to retain the 17% that we have. So no matter who is here, that number should always be shared so you know what you're aspiring to. I love this quote. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She lasts without fear of the future. We cannot be afraid of what the future holds, and we don't want our counterparts, our coworkers to be afraid. We don't want our citizens to be afraid, because we have this promise of seeing the 30 by 30 manifest. We want to make sure that they understand the why, make sure they know where we are and where we aspire to go, but we don't want them to be afraid of the future. And we don't want women coming into this business not feeling like that you can definitely be a part of an organization that is committed to diversity and inclusion. Inspire. I like this quote. This is by U.S. Border Patrol Chief Carla Provost, where she states, whether it was the police department or the Border Patrol, I was a police officer, not a female police officer. I'm a Border Patrol agent, not a female Border Patrol agent. And we're talking about inspiring. We want to make sure we inspire women who choose this profession to be police officers. It's not about you being a female police officer. You're a police officer. Nobody's check is based on gender. And when we're inspiring, we want to inspire young girls. We want to be able to bring that message to the next generation that you can be a police officer. They don't always understand, they don't see it. So we definitely have to break down the why for our next generation, because one day these girls will become women. And there is no I in team. It takes leadership setting that standard to say, I'm committed to this promise of seeing women increase in the ranks in this organization. So it's a team effort. It's just not leadership's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility to see it, make this come to manifest. Commitment can be contagious. If you're committed to something and you understand it, you can explain it, articulate it clearly, that can become contagious in your organization. This is a picture of some women from Texas Department of Public Safety, and I like this picture so much. They were at a training, so they took this picture, but it just speaks of unity to me. All of these women together. And then, of course, the young lady that I'm standing with is one of two female Texas Rangers. And she had an opportunity to come to our women's conference this year. And I was able to share with her just from afar. I don't know her very well. We've talked several times, but I don't have a personal relationship with her. But I was able to tell her how proud I was of her to see her in that role, a role that has been predominantly held by men. But that's inspirational to me for young girls, young women, even women in this profession to see this picture. I think that's inspiring, even for our men. And then training women police officers. We have to step up and start being trainers. We have to set that standard that we can train just like men. Usually men train in firearms, but we need women to do that. All of these young ladies here are trainers. Whether it's defensive tactics, de-escalation, leadership, just resilience for you to be able to come back no matter what you're faced with. As a leader, as an officer, you will be faced with different trials in this profession. Things will come up that are not in the book, but you have to always remember that you can be resilient and bounce back no matter what the situation is. But we have to be that voice for each other. When you see someone who may be pulling back because something has happened, whether it has something to do with them being a female or not, you want to be that one that comes and encourages them and reminds that person that you have something on the inside of you. You're in this position not just by chance. You chose the profession, but we know that you have more in you. And sometimes you have to dig deep when you are confronted with situations and circumstances. And then motivate. Hajir is a leadership training, a very good friend of mine. And her quote here says, each woman must find the power in her voice and the confidence will come so she can tackle any interview, anytime, any place. You must know that you have a voice. If you're talking to one person that you can motivate, that's your voice. Whether you're have a large stage, you have a voice and you can motivate. Not all women, it says here, are created equal. The best become law enforcement officers. And I do think that not all women are created equal, but I know many have the potential to do this job. Those that choose not to, we still love them, we care about them, but those who choose to take that oath to say, I'm willing to serve and protect people that I don't even know because I care. We have such a special fondness for those people, whether it's men or women. To do this job is still a very noble profession. And I respect everyone that takes that oath who are committed to serve and protect. This is a life class that's offered by Sam Houston State University at the Lemon Academy. And it's leadership inventory for female executives. I'm a big believer in training, and I think the fact that they offer this course that women can come together and share. They have instructors, but just being in a setting where you can share and be able to talk about some of the things that women are confronted with in this profession. And then you can do it in a way where you're really sharpening each other, sharing with each other. It's, no need in reinventing the wheel. If somebody has the answer to your problem that you think is wisdom that you can utilize to move forward, you should take advantage of that. So this is a very good class. I know women, not just in Texas attended, but outside of Texas, but we sent several of the women here and they've all came back and said it was a great class. And it's usually for those who are in leadership positions. So we've sent our lieutenants to this class. And that's Lieutenant Sandoval there in the middle with the red on. And then I cannot speak enough about NALI, what they bring to the table. National Association of Women and Law Enforcement Executives. And you don't have to be in leadership to be a part of NALI or to join this organization. This is a picture from the conference in Miami, and it's a mixture of women who are in leadership, officers, those who municipal, specialized, federal. It's open to any female, but this is where you really can meet other women. You can be sharpened and you can really drill down understanding your why. You have to get buy-in in your agency and you can't do it alone. It takes you mixing with other women, finding those strategies that worked in their agency. And I think for me, just setting the tone, making sure that the men that we work with understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. All of us are leaders and you don't have to wear gold to be a leader. And I think sometimes we forget that. So we all can lead. We all should be proud of where we work, but we should all want the best in our agency. We should never compromise our feel that our agency we cannot bring it up to a different level, a different standard of being committed to some goals and promises, and that each one of us can bring that something to the table, whether you're just talking to one person or you're talking to a group. We meet people all the time in the community. You go to community meetings. When you get the community behind what you're trying to do, it's huge. When you let someone know our agency is committed to trying to increase by women in the ranks by 30%, and the community hears that because they want to see the agency reflective of the communities that they serve. So that just doesn't mean race, but it also means gender. So I think sharing that information, always having it readily available to tell people the why makes a huge difference. Helps you get that buy-in and the support. So I love Nolly's motto, lead, inspire, and mentor. And I think that's for everybody. And then this is my last slide. You have to show off your brand, and then you have to show the diversity in your brand. And so this is right now she's Sergeant Jackson and Officer Khan is a motorcycle officer. But I like the picture because I love both of their smiles, but it says something about the organization. I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we see that in social media. So it's not so much the words that people are looking at. They see a smiling face. This speaks of diversity. This speaks of inclusion. It says a lot without even having the words. So we're committed to that also. And just to remember, whenever you feel like quitting, always think about why you started. And I always say it's not so much why I started. At a point in your career, it'll be why do I stay? So it's not for the money. It's because we want to make a difference. And I think we can start by being supportive of the 30 by 30 promise. Thank you.
Chief, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. Not just for your advocacy for women, but for sharing your leadership philosophy, which is really inspiring. I think because policing is so hierarchical and sometimes even paramilitary in its structure, it's really easy to lose sight of the impact one individual can have on others and how it's incumbent on everyone to always be oriented towards inspiring people and motivating people and mentoring them whenever they can. I think that's absolutely beautiful. Thank you. We got a question in the chat about whether you could share the PowerPoint slides. Would you mind if we email those around?
Not a problem, sure.
Awesome. All right, Laura, we'll definitely make sure you get those. If it's okay with y'all, we're going to hold questions until the end because I know some people might have some questions that are a little bit sensitive. If we put them all to the end, we can cut them off the recording. So you won't have to worry about other people hearing what you have to say about your agency. All right, moving right along. Next up, we're going to go to Assistant Chief Julie Swearingin. And she's been with the Fort Worth Police Department for over 26 years. From the start of her career, her focus has been on doing the best that she can and leading as an example, particularly for women in law enforcement. She has promoted through the ranks, becoming the first Hispanic female in the history of the police department to achieve the rank of lieutenant. And her career path and every promotion kept carrying her through to those first milestones. She has always acted as a teacher and speaker and mentor and counselor and friend to the people she works with, and really prioritizes taking the time to mentor in particular female officers in the department. She's also very passionate about recruiting women into law enforcement, and that's part of why she created Be the Change, which we're going to hear about today. And y'all, I have to tell you, so Assistant Chief Swearingin reached out to me maybe a couple of months ago now at this point, just to chat through the program that she built and the fantastic results she was seeing. And I got to tell you, after half an hour on the phone with her, I was ready to like pack up our Nissan Rogue with my partner and our 3 dogs, and I was ready to go work for her tomorrow. I mean, she's an incredible powerhouse. You know, Chief talked about the importance of inspiring people, and Assistant Chief Swearingin has this in spades. So Julie, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for the opportunity. Chief Bumpers, you've said it all. I think you took my whole PowerPoint to check on that hacking over there. Anyway, thank you. Everything you said, I believe 100% in support. You know, we have to do this together. I mean, each of us are working our agencies, but it's going to take all of us to make that complete shift. So a lot of the points that you mentioned are things that we're doing and what we believe in too, and it's about educating our community and definitely talking about our why. Let me pull up my PowerPoint, but I did want to mention about the quote from Carla. I love that because, as you get appointed here to commander, deputy chief, assistant chief, what does everybody say? Well, you're being appointed because you're a female. And I always say I'm being appointed because I'm a good leader and I'm a good cop. Being Latina is just a bonus, right? I always say that because it's important to be recognized for the leadership and being an officer, right? So I love that quote. Let me see if I can share my screen and I'll get into my program. Okay, can we see this?
We can see it.
Okay, great. So Be the Change, what it is really is it's a recruiting campaign I started back in 2019. And can you see a full screen? I'm sorry.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I really started it back in 2019. And what really triggered the campaign is trying to have our city, and our police department mirror the city that we serve. And the second part of that is, it was during the time of civil unrest and everybody trying to tell you how to do your job. And so, finally, I was like, if you want the police department to change, then take that challenge, be a part of that change, right? So that's kind of what started Be the Change in my mind. And it really was focusing on females and recruiting minorities to mirror the city, the police department to mirror the city that we serve. So what we did is, like anybody else, we did basically a social media, advertising, whatever we could, again, with the primary focus to target minority and women applicants. I used Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anything that I could, radio, banners. We even did the water bill insert because everybody in Fort Worth gets a water bill. We did a little flyer, a hiring flyer inside there to get interest. Digital news, we visited colleges, we did the magnetic signs, and I'm sure the other ladies presenting have done the same type of thing. Here's just a few of the things that we use to advertise Be the Change. And again, this is geared towards women, but you can see some of the things we tried to be relatable. We used Spanish, we used the community, and I like what you said, Chief, about having smiley faces represent, because you want to see smiley, approachable, right? So I think all these ladies represent that. So part of our hiring process is we do a civil service examination. And so when people are interested, they'll apply through online. And what I did was I got the interest cards and I got their emails and I got their phone numbers. And so that's the first part of our process, is connecting and reaching out to them, right? Because we want to see, if you put in an interest card, you can just say, well, I'm interested, give me more information, but you actually have to do something. You have to study, you have to show up and take the test. So once I got all those names, what I did was I started an introduction and to try to connect with them. And I'm not sure if you can read this, but I'll read the first one. I sent this email to all the applicants, the female applicants that put in. Let me introduce myself. I'm an assistant chief with the Fort Worth Police Department. I've been with the police department for over 25 years. As the highest ranking female in the department, I have made recruiting other females into the profession a personal goal. So my reason for this email introduction: I received a list of those who have applied for the PD and are scheduled to take the test this week and the next. So I really wanted to send you virtual support and encourage you to study, study, study. You should have received a study guide, and I highly recommend using it to prepare. The civil service is your first step in our process, and you need to not only pass it, but score high. If this email is late and some of you have already taken the test, I hope you have passed and are moving on to the next phase. Again, please know that you have internal support, and as you move through the process, I'll be reaching out to check on you, and I'm available to answer questions you might have. I have also CC'd Loving, she's my outreach partner, and will be assisting through this process. We are separate from the background unit, so please continue to work with your assigned investigator on all process matters. P.S. Work out the physical ability test can be challenging, but you can do it. So that's kind of my first introduction. And if you're able to read some of their responses, this one here I love. First, I'd like to thank you for reaching out to me the other day and just for noticing me. Not so many females were there today. I mean, getting responses like that, can you guys read those? Yeah. So just to kind of give you some feedback, and you think it's just an email, it's not a big deal, but guess what? It's an email from internal, but not only internal, but someone from the command staff. And I think that does have, a play in it. If you have someone who's going to take the time and actually be a part and actually send those emails or encouraging words or even the phone calls, you're going to get good response. Anyways, there's just a couple that I wanted to share with you. And I think this first list, I called 120 women myself. I shut my door for 3 days and I was on that phone like a telemarketer. Another part of it is, really leading by example. So once you take your written exam and you pass that, then you need to start preparing for the physical portion of it. So they need physical support. And I think I saw on your slide, Chief, about they can do it. You're right. They have to believe that they can do it. So again, I really tried to lead by example. I showed up and did the pre-workouts and we ran through the exercises. And most of these pictures of me running way in the back there, but trying to show them it can be done. And really, again, supporting and giving what they need. We met almost every Saturday until they took their final physical. And off this particular list, I had 27 women pass. And if you see then, let me see the next picture. That's how many women passed it. And these are some more pictures. Again, it's continued support, the physical support, all of it. Let's see. Again, if you can read some of these messages, because again, it's continued support through the whole process, not only the physical support, but as they're going through the background process, there's questions come up. There's things that they need help with answering and they want your opinion, or how do I balance my life? But if you can just read through some of these, I love these because it shows what we're doing is actually working. It's giving someone, thank you for the support, the words of encouragement, taking time out of your schedule, being there for us. I think this one, thank you for working hard alongside us. They got to see you put in the work too, right? You're doing what you're asking them to do and to accomplish. This last one here, my ladies started the first week and I had a couple ladies that dropped out that got scared and changed their mind. So I wanted to send them an email to check on their first day. And I reminded them, I'm sure the PT was hard. It was cold that day. But I hope you showed the instructors how hard you worked to get here and you deserve to be here. If you struggled today, it was only your first day, so don't be discouraged, just work harder. Remember why you are here and what you have accomplished to pass the PAT in order to earn your seat. As you heard my big mouth say over and over, it will not be easy, but you can do it. You have to push yourself as you never pushed before. Believe in yourself as I believe in you. I'm here if you need support or a recording of me yelling at you to breathe and don't stop running. You got this. So ladies, stick together, and that was my whole interaction with them, is really being real, right? I know a lot of them were like, you're a chief, assistant chief, but you know what? I'm a female and I need you here and I need you to stick it out and be here. So I always keep all the emails or the text messages because I think it's important, again, what this program is doing for these ladies. Let's see, some of the results. Class number 153. This one picture here with all the ladies, that was 16 ladies. That was the highest number we've had graduate in a while. And the class with the ladies in the t-shirt at the bottom picture, they're in the session right now. I think since we started this program, we've added 33 women. Let me see, I'm trying to look at my numbers real quick. I apologize. But that kind of shows you all the women that we have there. And so since this program, since we started this program, we were stuck on 13% for longest for women, and we have 87% men. We are now, they ran the quarter report for me, we're at 14%. It's 1%, but guess what? It's 1% in the right direction. And so I'm very proud of what we got going on right now. And in the recruit class that we have right now, we have 23% in one class and 17% in the other. So if you look at those totals, we're right at 21%. So again, there's small steps, but we're getting there. We've learned a lot of things. And I think, Maureen, we talked, I was rambling the whole time because it excites me to think what we're doing. And we're getting there. And I think we will hit that 30%. Again, it's just being involved, being supportive, and letting these ladies know your story too. If you're in a position that you can share your story, they can see themselves because they see someone like themselves in this seat here. And so that is my whole goal, recruit as many women and hopefully have one of them take my seat before I retire. Anyway, but thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for that. It's impossible not to smile when I hear you speak. I just feel like everything you described is everything that Chief Bumpers said needs to happen, right? I know sometimes at 30 by 30, I think maybe we tend to overcomplicate things a little. We're trying to build the research base. We're trying to, make sure that there's like this foundation of evidence. And what you've done is basically to show that if you treat people like human beings, if you acknowledge they're doing something that's extraordinarily difficult, if you acknowledge you see that they're in a position where there aren't as many of them as there are other demographic groups, and you treat them accordingly, they respond accordingly. And I think it's really beautiful. You know, one of the things that you mentioned when we chatted, and I hope it's okay to share, was just that you remembered what it was like to go through the process, and you brought that into how you treated people. And I think it shows. It's, you know, it's kind, it's supportive, it's honest, it's authentic, and it's present from leadership. I mean, that's really important. So thank you so much, Assistant Chief Swearingin. I know we also got a request to share your slides. I hope that's okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Let me just add one thing. I think, you know, and thank you for bringing up about sharing, you know, my struggle and things. And this is one of the things I think when you commit to something like this and helping someone, it's a complete commitment. So as I work out with this group, I tell my story. I was 27 when I started. I didn't have a lot of money. We did running every day at the academy. And the first 2-3 weeks, I had horrible shin splints because I had to buy tennis shoes at like a Walmart, and I needed running shoes, but I didn't have the money. So I talked about struggling financially to get to the academy. So I, you know, in a group setting, I said, I'm blessed right now. If you find yourself in a need of something, you reach out to me privately. You guys have my cell number, you have my email, and I will happily help you buy you those pair of running shoes or whatever you need, because I want you to be successful. And guess what? Several people took me up on that offer. And you don't think they're going to be successful in what they're doing now? When I see them walk into the classroom, I hope that they're thinking, how was I treated? How am I going to pay it forward when I get out of here? And so I think, again, it's a full commitment. It's, you know, giving everything and helping people be successful any way that you possibly can. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, but thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, now we're going to turn it over. We've got a team actually from Mesa PD, and it's been such a treat to work with Mesa. Many people there are involved in the 30 by 30 initiative. We've had a couple of great conversations. I know you all have a team. I've got the bio for Assistant Chief Butler, but do you all actually just want to introduce yourselves? Because I know you've got quite a few folks on the call.
Sure, we actually have a screen for our profiles.
Pardon?
Let me see. Can you see their screen?
Yeah, perfect.
All
That's
right,
great.
I know our Assistant Chief Dan Butler is on, so I want to go ahead and have him do a quick talk because he's traveling up north and we're worried we may lose connection. AC Butler, are you there?
Yeah, I've been dropped a couple of times since I've gotten on a little bit earlier. I had some great speakers beforehand. Missed a little bit of the assistant chief colleague from Fort Worth, but it was really, really interesting. So some great women leading from the front there. I am out of state right now and I'm in the middle of nowhere, so my cell service is pretty poor. But I won't take up too much of the time because I think what our team has is really, really interesting. And I think my role in that was just coming up with the idea a few years back and then just communicating it to them. But I ended up turning it over to them. They've turned it into something really nice. So what the concept was, and like I said, they'll get into the details, was just to create a leadership pathway for young women in our organization on the sworn side, but also professional staff, and then complemented with professionals from all industries that come from predominantly male workforces coming in. So the younger women would come in and give some type of leadership talk or facilitate the meeting. And those are the up and comers. And then these women who have gotten to the highest level of their organizations would come in and share their stories, through open and honest dialogue. And in those groups, initially we started it off and it was just members of our organization, like I said, on the sworn and professional staff, but also women from our surrounding policing agencies that were coming in. Early on, men would come to it because they were invited by people, and I would kind of just shoo them out because I wanted to create a safe environment for people to have those tough conversations about the challenges that they experience. But we have evolved that program as it's grown. So I will turn it over to Tara, Minnie, and Kendall, but I also want to acknowledge one of my colleagues, Assistant Chief Gina Nesbitt. She is on this call as well. So she is one of the leaders within our organization at the highest level that has been very influential and supportive and was one of the original speakers when we kicked this off a few years back. So hope everybody enjoys what they've presented or what they will present and learn a little bit about what we're doing. Thank you.
Hi, and I'm Tara Hall. I'm the administrator over our Community Relations Division. I help with the 30 by 30 initiative. I do want to say, to echo what Chief Bumpers said, we need those male champions, and AC Butler definitely opened the pathways for us to be innovative and do programs like our Women's Leadership Luncheon Series. So who I have with me here is Minnie Salas. She's one of the supervisors and actually the one that's putting together these series. So I want to give her an opportunity to talk about that. And then I have Kendall Robbins, Officer Kendall Robbins, who's assigned in our area temporarily in recruitment. So we have a newer generation officer out there talking to women that are around that same age interested in this field. And it's been amazing. So I want to give her the floor to talk about social media. We also have Officer Grit Catone. She's out of state as well. I believe she's on the phone, so she'll be able to chat about our next upcoming leadership luncheon. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Minnie.
Okay. First of all, there we go. So the Women's Leadership Lunch Series was something that was developed to create leadership opportunities for the women in our department, and also to network for women to get to know other women that are sharing the same experiences, and to collaborate and share ideas as well. So we launched it in 2020, and we were already brainstorming this and planning everything before COVID happened. So when COVID happened, we kind of had to pivot, change a few things. So we still kept it that same year, but we moved it to later in the year in November. And we kept it pretty small with 30 women in a large space, wearing masks and very little interaction, because we wanted to make sure that we were following all precautions. So what we found out from that first one, because we do survey the women that attend after every event, is that a lot of the women that were there didn't know who the other women were. So you got to keep in mind, we're a large agency. We have about 1,200 people or more in our department. And so we're all spread out throughout the city. So we decided to make sure that there was a networking opportunity at these events. And so that's what we started doing moving forward. So since the first one, we've had 4 events so far, and we've had speakers from different industries, including internal and external, from medical, fire, engineering, media, and also internally, as AC Butler mentioned, we've had Assistant Chief Gina Nesbitt, who is on here. That was one of the first speakers at the event. She was a commander at the time and is now an assistant chief. So she was really a great role model for the women that attended. As far as the attendance, we've had a very diverse group of women from all ranks, all divisions, from special operations to records to forensics and special victims. And then we also have grown it a lot since then. So we've invited other agencies to come join us as well. At our last one that was held in February of this year, we had 100 women attend. We had a panel of 4 speakers, and we had 12 different agencies that were represented. So that included 3 that are on the 30 by 30 campaign, including Gilbert, Tempe, and Queen Creek. And we've just gotten so much great feedback from it, and other agencies that are starting to do it now as well here locally. So we have the next one coming up in November, and I'll let Tara or Grit talk about that one.
I want to give the chance to see if Officer Grit Catone is on. I give a few seconds in case she is.
Yeah, I'm good.
Are you? Okay, maybe not. I'll go ahead and take the floor. I want to give a shout out to Commander Flores from LAPD. So I met her at Nolly, and also Chief Bumpers, and we heard from their panel, and it was just inspirational to hear these leaders from all ranks have this association of women and what they do to support that large organization. So we're inviting them to come out to our next Women's Leadership Luncheon, which is going to be in November. We're just excited for them they've opened the doors to, own how to do testing for the next level, to open pathways. Lieutenant Rodriguez has a class that she teaches. It just was really inspirational for us to do cross training, have other women from other agencies come over and visit us, and then inspire them to go to other agencies, or we now go to their agencies. So again, we're supporting each other. I know Minnie mentioned about the 30 by 30. There's in Arizona, there are other agencies that do it. We're talking about doing a campaign that's all those agencies supporting this 30 by 30 and women supporting women in law enforcement, instead of, trying to compete against each other. So yeah, I want to end it here with the next slide, which is about our social media. And again, I mentioned Officer Kendall Robbins has come to recruitment and be that next generation officer. And AC Butler is one of the ones that really helped us open the platform for TikTok. And that is thinking differently in terms of a platform. So I'm gonna let Kendall say a few words about our social media.
Yeah, so we started a TikTok page for recruiting purposes, and we have one video currently that has over 30,000 views on it. And we have such positive feedback from the public. There's a bunch of different people that will be like, wow, I showed this to my kids. Now they want to be law enforcement. And there's little girls that are like, oh my gosh, I want to be just like you when I'm older. So it's really cool to see how we're able to reach these younger generations and to receive different feedback from the public that we wouldn't be getting on platforms such as Facebook or Twitter. A lot of the stuff that we've been posting on our TikTok is stuff that we also post on our Instagram page. So we're reaching not just our followers, but also just people who are engaged in the algorithm that we're kind of putting in our hashtags. So we're reaching like thousands and thousands of people and drawing them into wanting careers in law enforcement, whether that's male or female, but we're definitely getting those younger generations to acknowledge the career as a positive light.
All right, I think that's what we have for you guys today. We appreciate the time and giving us a chance to highlight our agency.
Thank you all so much. That TikTok is so exciting. When we send around the slides, we'll also send along a link to Mesa's TikTok. I haven't heard of any. I'm sure there might be others, but I think it's brilliant and innovative and fresh, and I think we can all learn from it. Got a couple of quick questions in the chat. I know I said we'd save them to the end, but they seem pretty benign. Real quick, how do you fund the luncheon series, or where does the money come from?
It's within our bureau. Our AC Butler supports it. We have funding that comes in for our women's leadership luncheon.
Perfect. And then do people get time off radio to attend?
Time off.
Time off radio, like if people are on patrol, can they come in for the series?
Yes.
Yeah, so we on patrol, we just have to get it approved by our sergeants, and then we get like a no call status.
And I don't know if we mentioned, but the LaPoa one will be women and men sworn that are invited. So we're really going to try to gather that group of the sworn to listen to those conversations from LaPoa. I see Commander Flores, if you wanted to chime in just to say hi, and we appreciate you coming to our state of Arizona.
We are looking forward to it, and thank you for the invitation and the shout out. We really look forward to doing it. And I think what's really makes me excited about this is that we're able to reach more women. I mean, I'm passionate about hiring in 30 by 30 for LAPD, but to be able to share best practices, and I'm hoping we'll learn a lot from you as well. I think that's phenomenal. And I think we're in a good place that each agency should be working together, just adding more to our sisterhood together. So thank you for the invitation again. We look forward to it.
Love to see it. Hi, Commander Flores. You know, this is something that has happened a little bit organically with those listening sessions we're doing in different jurisdictions that Mark 43 is partnering with us on. So, you know, we had one in Philly recently, and like the overwhelming takeaway from the women in the room were, why have we not done this before? Like the importance of fellowship with other people who are experiencing what you're experiencing is so important. And then through these listening sessions, we're also bringing in regional departments. So like you just described, working with other departments who are on the 30 by 30 mission, who maybe you don't coordinate with all that much, and building a community of practice that way. It's so critically important, and I'm just really thrilled to see it. Great work out there. All right, so our last presenter is co-founder Yvonne Roman, who I know you all know and have heard from, but I'll read a brief bit about her bio in case there's any new folks on the call. You know, one of the things we've heard in response to the pledge requirements around really rethinking your physical fitness standards is, you know, a lot of it is in some jurisdictions, it's controlled by the state. There's only so much we can do. The validation process is expensive, and we're actually partnering or in the process of establishing a partnership to fund a vetted assessment that at least serves as some type of baseline for folks that have the latitude to relook at it. But what Yvonne is going to be speaking about is working within the constraints that currently exist. So knowing that it could take some time, or knowing that you might not have the latitude to take another look at your physical fitness assessment, how do you help underrepresented groups pass that physical fitness assessment until you're able to make those types of changes that are critically needed. So as I mentioned, Yvonne is, of course, the co-founder of 30 by 30 and a personal hero of mine. She has 25 years of experience in policing, serving in every rank from police officer to police chief in the Newark Police Department. She served on the board for the American Society of Evidence-Based Policing since 2017. She's an executive fellow at the Police Foundation. She was awarded a National Institute of Justice Law Enforcement Advancing Data and Science Scholarship, which is actually how we met and how this work got started. She's got a Women in Media Scholarship and recently was given the American Society of Criminology Outstanding Practitioner Award. For those of you who haven't listened to her 2019 TED Talk on the importance and unique value of women in policing, I highly recommend it. Has over 2 million views at this point. And recently in her spare time, I don't know how she does it, she was currently awarded a Leadership and Government Fellowship with OSF. So I know Yvonne was having some internet difficulties, so I think she's coming to us live from her vehicle. Yvonne, take it away.
Hi, everyone, and greetings from Puerto Rico. I'm on vacation, so I'm at a rest stop where I can find the best signal for the webinar. So thank you for having me, and thank you for all of you that are doing such wonderful work with the 30 by 30 initiative. As I said, I'm with my daughters, and now they've decided to crawl into the car as I'm giving my presentation. So this started for me back in 2015 when I realized that women were failing police academies at really astronomical rates that were shocking to me, but didn't seem to be concerning to my male counterparts. And so when I started looking at the research to see, what the average rate for women in academies were, nationally, it's about 89% women in police academies that pass, and in New Jersey, 60 to 80% of the women were failing, and that was a recent phenomenon. And I started digging in, trying to find out why these women were failing the academies, and what I found was that they were failing because of physical fitness. And now, as Maureen mentioned, those are problems, validation of tests, the physical fitness standards that sometimes will require a lawsuit, they require a validation process. It's a long, lengthy process. So in order to get the needle moving with the women and to improve the outcomes, what I decided to do was to start training with them in the park, something very simple. And so Mo had mentioned earlier that our work is grounded in research and science. It is, but the suggestions that we give are very easy to implement. They're low cost or no cost solutions. And what I did was I started working out the women and teaching them how to pass that test. So in order to do that, I got myself certified as a physical fitness instructor. I bought one of those high jump machines so they can measure themselves on how they were jumping, and I got a stopwatch. And I started training them exactly what to expect on the test. But I found that it wasn't just training them on that test, but also to have that access to other women in policing so they can ask questions, so they could have that feeling of having a community where they could rely on each other. Not only did we help increase the number that were passing, we went from a failure rate of 60 to 80 to where 92% of the women that attended our program passed. And so this was a problem that what we brought to the attention, no one really seemed to be interested when we brought it to the attention of the academy leaders. But after they had this big explosion in the pass rates, they certainly were willing to take the credit for it and call in the media and have press conferences about this high rate of women that were passing the test. And so again, what we did was work out with them on the weekends, and then we created a group chat. The group chat was on WhatsApp, and we would create challenges. So we would say, okay, give me 10. And wherever they were at, they had to log themselves, video record themselves doing these 10 push-ups. And it was to make it fun and interesting, and we can challenge each other, but also so that the police officers that were on the app could look at the form and make sure that the form was proper, so that when they got to the academy, this number one barrier that they had, which was the push-ups, wouldn't continue to be a barrier. So we'd make sure that they were going low enough, that the arms were at the right angle, because these were super strict in the New Jersey police academies, and was a primary reason why women were failing. Now, when you think about barriers, these are something that anyone in the agency should have been able to identify themselves, right? When we all start taking the promotional exams, they teach us to be problem solvers, to be decision makers. I know when I took my sergeant's exam, they taught us the SARA model for decision making, where we had to scan, we had to analyze if there was a problem, respond, and then assess the response, right? So it was very easy. I saw that it was the push-ups. analyzed it, and we created this program, and we responded and we implemented it, and then we saw that we were having positive results. But in that analysis at the end, we also found that it wasn't just the push-ups that were eliminating women. And had we not put this program together, we wouldn't have realized that there were other barriers along the way. There were women that had socioeconomic problems that other women didn't have. So we found that women of color specifically were having more challenges than their white female counterparts. So they all were having the issues with the physical fitness, but then yet you had the socioeconomic issues. I know that some of us mentioned when we started, you know, really not having access like to the expensive tennis shoes. I myself didn't have a car, and my father died 3 months before the academy started. I would walk to the academy. Had they moved the academy to a sleepaway academy, that would have been a huge barrier for me. And that's one of the barriers that was identified, that we had poorer outcomes when the academy was changed to a sleepaway academy, where people had to drive about an hour to get there, and they were away from their families. I also found that women were failing the psychological exam at higher rates than their male counterparts. So by getting involved with this issue, we were able to identify other issues, and then we would have to go through the same process of identifying what it was and then creating or tailoring a response. So I think it's important to have our supervisors be aware and take action. And this, again, was something that was low cost. It just required my time on the weekends, and then for a group of women, female cops, to serve as mentors on the group chat. And I was able to do that. I got a grant through Open Society, but really this was something that could have been done without a grant. What I used the grant for was to create additional networking opportunities where we would go out to, we did rope climbing one day. We would have group workouts in special locations sometimes, but that was more for networking and creating these relationships. So as managers, all of us here, we should be encouraging also those below us to be problem solvers and to bring problems to our attention, or for they themselves to get involved in creating responses that they themselves can handle, right? Something like a networking or a mentoring program doesn't require a lot except the will and the commitment to be involved and to care enough to improve outcomes for others that are finding challenges. So this is really how 30 by 30 got created. I started with the WLA in Newark, and I was talking to Mo through the LEADS program, letting her know what I was seeing. We were looking at the research, seeing if there were problems like this across the United States, and we found that there were. So in order to create this community of learning where we can learn from each other is really what's behind 30 by 30. So we can share the research and we can share what works, like in these webinars once a month. So I commend all of you for all that you're doing. It's really impressive, and it really does create that community of learning that will help 30 by 30 become successful. So thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Yvonne. I feel like I learned something new about how you approach it every time you talk about it. I also didn't realize that you were on vacation. Thank you. That's really nice, and had your daughter. Do you mind, before you go on mute, sharing a little bit about how you involved the union in the establishment of WLA?
So it's kind of unique. I found a grant that was for unions to implement the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. My police department wasn't interested at all in doing anything about the problem I identified, but the union was interested in applying for the grant and showing that they can engage with the community to solve problems. So this opportunity was through the police union. You know, the grant is not available now, but it's a way that a unique way to integrate the union into this. So I think it's a way of approaching unions who sometimes may be having PR issues. They might want to show that they are community oriented, and getting them involved really solves a lot of issues, not only with their PR, but also what has been identified as obstacles at times, that where it seems that the union isn't behind something like this. So I think it's all on the approach on how you integrate the union and how it's sold to them, right? Whether it can be seen as a pro, or whether we allow them to perceive it as a con, right? That there are benefits to this for all of policing, including the women, and the union can certainly be a partner in this.
Amen. Thank you so much. Okay, I've seen a couple of questions come through the chat, but we've got 15 minutes left. If anybody has anything for any of the speakers, please don't hesitate to share it now. No need to throw up your hand, just take yourself off mute and go for it.
Hey, if I could, I just wanted to add something. You know, I love the recruiting pages and the TikTok. I'm sorry, did it? So whatever you use to recruit it, it is 30 by 30, is it? But like myself, I created Be the Change. And so we really had fun with it. I hope that you can see this, but I had these cards made. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so it's Be the Change. So when I'm out there and I see I'm working out at the gym and I see a fit lady, I'm like, hey, you need to be a police officer. And it has a Q code. So all she has to do is scan it later and it'll take her to our recruiting webpage. But I really had fun with it. I did Be the Change bracelets. I don't know if you can see that. And then I even did a t-shirt, Be the Change, supporting our future. So whatever you use to market or advertise, whatever addition to the 30 by 30, you know, have fun with it, really use it. I mean, we did all the social media too. And I love, I think it was Mesa, I love that TikTok. We did that too. They were hilarious. I'm not very social media, but we did the same thing. We did videos and memes and where you jump up and you're dressed in a uniform and then you jump back down in your regular clothes to show a regular female and now a female in a uniform, you know, so have fun with whatever you're doing. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.